Welcome to Genius Dreams Education channel. Today we are going to look at how we can design a simple flyer in Photoshop. That's a simple church flyer as part of our lesson on Photoshop. So before you start, please subscribe to my channel to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. So first of all, we are going to create a canvas or the working window by using Control N. Then we are going to select the size as 4 by 4, the inches, set the resolution to 300, then we click on create to get the canvas or the working space. So now this is our working space. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start designing the background image. So I'm going to import in all my images that I'll be using to design the background image. So I'll provide a link in the description part of the YouTube channel so that you can find these materials and practice with it. So first of all, let me first import in my first image. Okay, so I'm going to use this one as the first image. So you drag and drop it at the page, and this image I'm going to actually decrease. Let me first of all decrease the opacity small because I don't want it to be all that deep. Then let me go in for my other image as this image. So for this image I'm going to rasterize it. So you right click here and then go to rasterize. You rasterize the image, and after that I'm going to I want to cut this part off. So let me go and use the quick selection tool. So I'm going to use the quick selection tool to delete the middle part. So after that I'll click on Ctrl D to deselect it. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the top part here. So I'll select the rectangular marquee to do that job for me. So when I use that to select the top part, I will then right click and select layer via cut to cut this part from this part. So now I can move the top part to everywhere I want. So now you can see I can move only this part. So the next thing I'm going to press Ctrl T and transform this one small out small like this. I'm going to keep it like this and then press enter to get that part. And the down part too, you can see I can select it and move it around to anywhere I want. Now let me click on Ctrl T and extend that one to small. Then click on enter. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll go in for my other images. So I'm going to use this image too as well, and I'm going to position this image here. So I'm going to make sure that this layer will be on top of this one so that I'll get my image in this form. Then let me transform it in small. And then leave it somewhere here. So I'll work on it later. Then the next thing is I'll still go in from other image that I'm importing all my images so that we proceed from there. I'm actually going to use this image for to keep a test for that part. The next thing is I also need the location symbols. So let me label this location symbol as core so that when we are testing, when we are styling it, it will become easier for us. So the next thing is let me go in for the other image. So this one is actually for WhatsApp, and I'm going to also name that layer as WhatsApp. So let me call this layer as WhatsApp. So you see the core is not all that visible, so I'm going to first of all create a rectangle around it and create clipping mask effect to get a color for it. So I'm going to click on that layer, the rectangle layer, and click on create clipping mask to get this white color for the core part or the core symbol so that it will be visible as compared to the first one. Same thing applies to the WhatsApp too. I don't want to keep the green color like this. So I will do same, draw a rectangle over it and then choose filling color. Let me make sure that this, so I'll then press enter and right click on that layer and click on create clipping mask to get this white color out of it, but I'm going to choose a blending option or blending mode for it. So I'm going to use this color, that's this one, as the blending mode to get this out of it. So now I'm done with this part, so I'm going to actually group those images. So let me click on, you select all and you click on G to group them. I'm going to call it as core WhatsApp. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import my other images too as well. Keep on importing the images. So this is an image of a Bible. I would like to put it into this place. So I'm going to rasterize it and then remove the background layer. So let me label that as Bible so that when I want to style it, it will become simple. Rasterize it, then go to background, properties, and you come here, you click on remove background too. Now we are going to wait for the background of the Bible to be removed. So as we are waiting, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. You can give your comment, you can share it too for me, and like the video too for me so that I can do more videos on that to also help you with knowledge for Photoshop and website development. So now the background has been removed successfully. Let me press on Ctrl T, transform it out small, and then leave it. So The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also import the other image, actually the image of the person or the pastor or the evangelist. The evangelist. So this is the evangelist or the person, the resource person for this program, and I'm going to position him here. So I'm going to put him under this layer so that it will be like this. So the next thing is I'm going to rasterize it, and then after rasterizing I'll go to Windows properties to remove the background as usual. So still we are waiting for the background to be removed. Please subscribe to the channel to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. You can share and give your comment too as well. So now this is the image of the resource person or the resource person. So the next thing I'm going to do is let me actually shift this image here or position it at somewhere here. So we are almost done with the images that we are going to use for this flyer. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this image small. So I'm going to draw into okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this image with the background. So I'm going to choose this blending option, and after that I'll draw another rectangle to cover this image and choose a filling color of it to be this. Press enter, and then I'm going to also blend this same rectangle to with the background image. Okay, so now this is what you are going to get by setting this image to a blending option of hard mix and putting the rectangle to a blending option of saturation. So we are almost done with the background of the image and with all other our images too. So the next thing I'm going to do is to give out all the text for this flyer. Then we proceed from there. So for the text aspect, you just go in for the text tool and you click on anywhere you want to give out your text and you start typing. So like this, going for the text tool and I'll type there or click on that part and start giving out my text. So I'm going to say Genius Chapel. So that's how I'm going to do it. So actually, I'm going to provide all the text with the same procedure. Then you continue from there. Okay, so now we are done with the text aspect of the flyer. So we are going to look at how we are going to. So the next thing is for us to provide the styling aspect of the text. So I'm going to start with the chapel name or the name of the church, which is this the top part. So I'm going to select that layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just provide a font family and font size for it. So I'm going to use the Rockwell extra bold and I'm going to increase the distance in between them to somewhere about 20. So 20, 200 is too small. So let me make it 250. This one is even still too small for me. So let me make it, I want the distance in between them to be large. So 300 is actually okay. And let me position it here. Let me increase the size to 11 and see. Okay, so 11 is okay for now. So Genius Chapel present that's where the next thing is let me select the present and choose a font family for the present. So for the present I'm going to use the admin variable concept font size. And this font I'm going to decrease the font size to somewhere about 6 and increase the distance in between it. So let me make the distance in between it 400% and then position it here. So Genius Chapel, let me select the Genius Chapel and add national to it. So let me shift this one to this side. Select the text layer and I'm just going to add INT to it. That's all. So I'm done with it. Okay. So now this one is okay as compared to the previous one. So the next aspect I'm going to do is I'm going to select the text within this layer and also provide the styling aspect for that part. So I'll go and select those layers. So that is the weekly, which is the first one, and I'm going to keep the font family as the agency FB, but I'm going to increase the font size to 12 and then position it here. After that, I'm going to increase the space in between it. That's okay. So the next thing is I'm going to select the evangelism tool and do same for that one. Set the font size to 12 and increase the distance in between it. The weekly evangelism, let me add this on. So let me adjust or position it here. So the next thing is I'm going to select the every Sunday too and do same for that part. I'm going to increase the font size to 12, keep the font family as the agency FB, and then increase the spacing in between it to 200% and position it here. So the next thing is I'm done with that. I'm going to select this image and transform it out a little bit. So I'm going to press on Control T to select it, and I'm going to distort it so that all the text will fit inside it. So after that one, let me go and select that group and position it well. So actually I'm done with this part. So let's go to the color. I want to change the color to, so I'm going to use an image to create a clipping mask effect for the color aspect. So I'll just right click and click on create clipping mask. And after that, I'm going to blend it with the background. So I'm going to keep it at the divide blending option. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a drop shadow effect for that text. So I'm going to keep it like this. So I think this one is okay for now. And I'm going to press on the OK button to get to start the weekly evangelism on every Sunday. So the next thing is I'm going to provide a styling aspect for the text within here, within this box or layer. So that's the Jesus. So I'm going to select those layers and provide a styling aspect. So the first thing I'm going to do is to set a font family for it. And the font family I'm going to use, the Rockwell Extra Bold. So I'm going to use the Broadway font family. So after selecting the font family, I'm going to increase the font size to 24, and after increasing the font size, I'm going to increase the distance to 200 and then increase the height of the text to 200%. I'm going to position it here. So the next one is the is. So I'm going to select the is and do same for it. Let me actually set this one to 30 and see. Sure, so 30 will be okay, and then decrease the font to 150, height to 150, and then position it here. So I'm going to select the is, choose the font family for it as the same as the Broadway font family, and increase the font size to somewhere about 16. So after that, let me position it here. So, and then go and select the next layer. Choose a font family for it as the same Broadway font family, and then increase the font size about 24. Since the 24 can still go further, then let me set that one to 30. So this is how this part 2 is going to look like. So the next thing is I'm going to provide or change the color for that text. So I'm going to still use this same image to change the color of that text. So I'll drag it to cover it and then click on it to create clipping marks. So after creating the clipping marks, I'm going to then blend it with the background. So I'm going to use the hard light, and after selecting the hard light, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drop shadow effect or drop shadow to this text. So I think this one is as compared to the previous one. So let me also add a texture. So the drop shadow, I'm going to set the blending mode to multiply and then choose the contour shape, something like this, and set the distance to 4 and the spread 2% size for I'm not going to change anything. Opacity at 100%. So I'll then also add a texture to it. So the texture, I'm going to use this. So I'm going to use this for the texture, and let me adjust it. So now this is how it's going to look like. So I'm going to leave it at a depth of this percentage and the scale of this. So what I'm going to do is to press on the OK button to get this out of that. So the next thing is I'm going to provide the styling aspect for this part too. So for this part, actually, okay, so let me, this is Genius FM, so showing where the evangelism is going to take place. So let me go in and bring the location sign for that part. create it first before and add it from this part so that it won't be under any layer. The effects of those sleeping masks won't affect it. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. You can give your comment, share and also like for us to get the weekly videos. As you have any questions, you can put it inside the comment section. So I'm going to transform this image out to get like this, and I'm going to reduce the opacity of this image. I want to achieve the color of the text. So now this one is okay as compared to the first or the previous one. So the next thing is, and I'll keep the font size for the FM to the same thing. So the font family for this one is the agency FB, and I'm going to, okay, let me actually select that one and use this font family for it. I'm going to change the font family to the Mirad Pro. So I'm going to actually use the Mirad Pro for that, and use that same Mirad Pro for this one too. I'm going to use that same Mirad Pro for the time too. So I'm going to increase the size of the 6 o'clock AM to 12. 12 is okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a small rectangle and put this one inside. Then I'll press enter to get this. So the next thing is I'm going to position. Let me check if I'll get a blending. So I'm going to use this blending option for this text. Then let me select this one and position this one here. So I'm going to leave it like this. So actually I'm almost done with this part. So here the text, I used the agency FB with a font size of 10, agency FB with a font size of 10. So the next thing I'm going to do is to work on this part too. So I'm going to select that layers and then work on it. So that's the evangelism part, or the info of the resource specimen. So I'll select that layer, and actually I'm going to keep this font size, the font family of this text as the agency SD, but I'm going to reduce the font size to 8. 8 is okay. Then let me position it here. So the next thing is I'll select the name of the resource specimen, and I'm going to change the font family of the resource specimen. I'm going to use the Brad for the name, and then increase the font size to 12. After that, I'm going to position it here. So the next thing is I'll select this small or motto, and also choose the font family for it. So I'm going to use this font family for that motto. That's the admin variable concept, and I'm going to decrease the font size to 8. 8 is not. Let me decrease it. Okay, so I'm going to keep the font size to 8, and then increase the font size of the name of the resource to 40. And then the evangelism, let me change the font family to the admin variable, and increase. So now I think now this one is okay. Let me position this one here. So now I'm done with this one. So let me put this text I want to put it inside a rectangle. So I'll go in for my rectangular tool and draw a small rectangle for that text. So that's the host. I have to make sure that the rectangle will come underneath of that layer. So I'm going to make the edges round, and then press enter. So after that, I'm going to drag it here. So Control T to reduce the size. Control T, right click, and then distort it. So let me still press on, select the text, and then right click, and now I'm almost done with the flyer. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the shape of the Bible small. increase the shape of this small and then leave it as this. So finally we are done with it. So the next thing is, let me select the resource specimen and position it. Let me position it up small. No, that place is not all that. Let me bring it up here. So I'm going to position the resource specimen. So let me go and select that layer and move it. I'm going to group that. So let me call it as resource person. So now we are done with this flyer as the final aspect. So if you want to add any other effect to it, you can select all the layers and add some hue and saturation to it. So let's do that to see the effects of it. So you select all the layers and group them as one. So after selecting all, you click on this icon. You come to, let's say, brightness, hue and saturation, and we are going to adjust it. So you can see the corresponding effect you can produce with the hue and the saturation. If you want to make it more deepen into red color, you shift to this side more. So let's adjust it to see what we can achieve. Now this one is too much. So I'm going to keep it this part and this part. And then let me work on the lightness to see the effect. Let me add small shadow to it. Okay. So this one is okay. Let me add brightness. Okay, so I'm going to keep it as this and adjust the contrast to this side and keep this one as final work or our final flyer. So now we are done with this designing. Give your comments in the comment section, like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. Thank you. See you again. Goodbye.